Last time on the Ozempic Diaries.
For lunch, I had a beef bulgogi with some carrots, kimchi, and rice. Then I had a piece of chocolate and a chicken fajita bowl for dinner. Started the day with my Nespresso coffee, then I had a protein shake, then I had a pork teriyaki bowl, which I have, and finished the day off with some pasta and sausage.
The plot thickens with another advancement in weight loss drug technology, and it is gonna make for a crazy world. Hey everyone, I'm Abbey Sharp. Welcome to Abby's Kitchen. Today I'm going to be catching up with my manager, business partner, and close friend Ginger on our ongoing Ozempic journey. Plus, I'm going to be talking about new advancements in the weight loss drug space. A quick disclaimer that this video may include numbers, calories, and extreme weight loss discussion. Also, please note that the individual in the series, Ginger, is not my client, she's my friend, so any suggestions here are for general knowledge and education only. Everyone's needs are unique and should be discussed one-on-one with your healthcare provider. This series is also not meant to promote Ozempic as a first-line defense for weight loss, but rather to counter dangerous misinformation with sensitivity and science in the safe space that is my channel. So it's been a while since we caught up, but Ginger and I have kind of been busy launching a brand, so it has been a little admittedly hard to sync up our schedules. But as of our last check-in in January, Ginger was down 34.5 pounds after 7 months on Ozempic. So let's bring Ginger on to see how she's been doing today. Today's video is sponsored by my life savior, Homoglow. So spring has sprung, even though, sometimes doesn't feel like it with our crummy weather. But if your house has been abused by the wear and tear of winter, let me introduce you to my BFF, Homoglow. So Homoglow is a 5-star cleaning service with super affordable prices, way cheaper than most cleaning services that we've paid for in the past. But the way it works is you go to Homoglow's website to choose the time and day that you're looking for and the duration of your cleaning, and you'll be able to see all the available cleaners along with their background checks, photos, and reviews. So if you've got someone that you've worked with before, you can rebook that same person. You can also schedule it in that week or a month from now if you want to rebook your cleanings on a regular basis. You can also sign up for their Forever Clean membership, which saves you $30 an hour on all future cleanings, or unlimited cleanings for $19 an hour, all of which are backed by their happiness guarantee. Another thing that I really love is that 100% of the cleaning fees and tips go directly to the employees. So they're extra incentivized to do a really great job. Homoglow is only available in the United States, so whenever we go down there, I just feel so relieved knowing that I can rely on this service to take a huge task off of my plate. So if you're looking to take home cleaning off of your plate this spring, head to homoglow.com/Abbey Sharp or scan the QR code to get your first 3 hours of cleaning for only $19. Welcome, Ginger. Thank you for coming.
Hi, Abby. Long time no see.
I know. We only text about 20 million times a day, so.
A very intimate relationship, if everybody didn't know.
100%, 100%. But we don't always talk about Ozempic. We've got bigger fish to fry. But tell me, what's the hot gossip? You're 9 months in now? Is that right?
Yeah, coming 10 months in.
Amazing. So how are you feeling about your weight loss outcomes? What's going on?
Oh my gosh. I honestly, this is a game changer. It's been life-changing for me, just down to, I've said it before, but just that mental release, and that I was telling somebody the other day, it's I've always thought about food from the minute I woke up to the minute I went to bed. I was never fully satiated, and now I don't even think about it.
Right. I can't even imagine that the juxtaposition from what you're used to experiencing, that constant food noise, and for things to now just be quiet. I can only liken it to my ADHD medication, where when I'm not on, it's just chatter, 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 not about food necessarily, but about everything else. And then, finally having that opportunity to have some peace and be able to really just focus on other acts of self-care, other aspects of your life that should be bringing you joy. Are you comfortable sharing, your results so far?
Yeah, so I'm at 40 pounds down, and I'm sort of hovering here. I've been hovering here for a few months, and to be honest, I'm okay with it. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling active. Well, sure, would I love to lose more weight? okay, but I'm actually feeling like I want to gain muscle now. So I'm totally okay with this.
And this might be kind of, a good set point range for you to stay in. If you are hovering and not continuing to lose, this might be your weight, right? And now is the time to feel your best by fueling your body more, getting to know those body cues. And like you said, like gaining some muscle. The number on the scale is certainly not everything. It's definitely nowhere near it all. So I love that for you.
I feel good. I feel like I look good. I'm confident. So if this is the number, this is the number.
Last time we caught up, I had made some general suggestions on focusing on protein in every meal and snack to, really, of course, for appetite management, but also to prevent muscle wasting, which is one of the big concerns when it comes to Ozempic for long-term use. How do you feel like you've been doing so far?
Not great. When I can, I try. But I think it's just been, as you can attest, it's just been the most stressful last few months that I have not been focusing on what I'm eating. It's like if I'm hungry, I put something in my mouth, and I really haven't been focused on it. I really do try when I'm mentally thinking that I want to cook myself a meal. I have the meal delivery service that does give me sort of that complete meal, but because I've been traveling and on the road for so long, this is the first week back after 6 weeks of not doing it. So I just really feel like I haven't been consuming really great meals. I've been trying when I can. I haven't been very good at it.
We don't need to moralize, Ginger. You've been doing great. Honestly, I know what you've been doing, and it's certainly not good. So cut yourself some slack. Food is just one component of the whole picture. I think you should give yourself more credit than you do. But why don't we look at some clips together, right?
Yes, let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay, first of all, tell me about the pita with bologna and brie combination. What is that, girl?
Yeah, I had no food in the house. I had like this package of unopened mortadella and brie that was going bad in 2 days.
I love mortadella. I love brie. It sounds amazing. I love that. Such a girl dinner situation of just like, what do I have in the fridge? And sometimes like those are the best meals, but also I just like commend you for being resourceful, because if it were me, if I wasn't feeling in a creative mood, I would have just been like, okay, cereal it is. Or like oatmeal it is, So like, I love that you got some protein in there, right?
I was thinking about you when I did it, because I was like, I could Uber Eats or I could just use what's in the fridge.
I love that. Money saving. We need that, of course, in this economy. And also, like, you're being resourceful and you've put together a meal that's satisfying. So this is definitely an improvement since our last call. We got protein in all the meals, plus some healthy fats and fiber, which is great. I would love to see you kind of front load protein in that morning meal a little bit better, because 1 egg is just 7 grams of protein. And now we've just shipped our new theory protein. So you got your hands on that. A shake is going to probably be your BFF for those busy days, which we know are basically all the days now. But I would also love to see you add a little bit more fiber. So, maybe some higher fiber berries in there, like raspberries at breakfast, and adding in some vegetables or avocado in, the little wrap, and also in your girl dinner cottage cheese situation at the end of the day.
Right? It's like, this is what I have, this is what I'm doing. Okay, so I have a question actually, and I guess my biggest thing is if and when I do groceries, the week that I shared with you, I had done my own groceries, but I find that like my veggies and my fruits go bad so fast. So I guess I'm just looking for other ways that,
to get in that
frozen fruit?
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
I think people sleep on frozen fruit and veg, but really they are flash frozen at the peak of ripeness and perfection. So they're locking in those nutrients. They're cost effective. You can get them year round. We're in Canada, like we're not getting good berries this time of year. Like they suck, right? So frozen blueberries, throw them into a smoothie, throw them into, your oatmeal, your yogurt. It's a great way to add antioxidants, fiber, all the good stuff. And it's just very convenient, right? You don't have to worry about them going bad. You could buy it on sale and you could keep it in your freezer for 6 months. So that's a great tip. We're going to watch another one of your days. Let's take a peek, see at that one.
Started my day with a coffee, then I made an egg, put a little bit of mozzarella cheese on there, served that with about a third cup of blueberries. Then I had half a cinnamon roll, made this amazing quinoa salad, Moroccan style, with chickpeas and cranberries and apricots and parsley and mint and turmeric and onions and slivered almonds. But it didn't have any protein, so I had 3 pieces of beef jerky, then a Coke Zero and Chicago mix, about a cup.
Much better, amazing. I love this. Also, I'm also obsessed with Chicago style popcorn. It is like my favorite. The salty and the sweet and just, you like.
If somebody could figure out how to like get that equal blend though when you open it, because the caramel's so much heavier than cheddar, it sinks to the bottom.
Yes, this is an epic product development fail in my opinion, yes. I know.
Come up with this
I have to go fishing. Okay, get a salty one. Get the cheese. Get the sweet. Got to mix them together. Same bite.
So that you can pick one and then you put them in.
It's a job, right? But we love this. We got more fiber. We got the blueberries in there, and we got the salads. We actually have lots of vegetables and fiber in there. And the cheese on the egg in the morning does add a little bit more protein, but I would try to bump that up even more. And one way I really like to do that is by just throwing in like a half cup of egg whites with your egg while you fry it. So you're gonna basically get like the yolk with like a pool of egg, a much larger egg white essentially. And that way you're gonna get a little bit more protein in that morning meal. Also, that quinoa salad looks amazing. I need that recipe. We all probably need that recipe. Everyone's gonna ask for it. I just know it. And you're actually getting 2 plant-based sources of protein in there. You're getting your quinoa and your chickpeas. So you didn't even give yourself credit for that. So you actually are getting, a good amount of protein in those meals. So love that day. Do you notice a difference in how you feel when you start your day with more protein versus like a cinnamon roll?
That's a great question. Here's the thing. I'm not really...
You're not paying attention.
Really, thinking about it. So I couldn't tell you if I feel better when I have protein in the morning or if I just have toast or a cinnamon roll or if I don't have breakfast. And there are days when I skip breakfast because like even today, I got started so early that I just haven't eaten yet.
Well, I would love for you to change that, Ginger.
I'm not thinking about it. I know that's so crazy, but even like my doctor asked me questions too, Abby, and it's like, I haven't like mentally like connected those together. So something to think about.
It's something to think about, and actually it's something that I recommend everyone do is not count calories, but to keep track of how you feel after certain meals. Keep a general journal. You don't need to put in specifics about how much oil you added or how many measuring things. We don't need details like that, but it's good to have a little bit of some concrete examples of how different meals or meal combinations or meal timings make your body feel. Does your digestion feel better after a certain food? Does your energy levels feel better and more consistent after a specific meal? Are you able to stay full and energized longer when you eat a breakfast versus when you don't? I actually want you to make a little exercise out of that and try it. I actually think everybody should really be thinking about that as well, especially if you are trying to understand how foods affect your body.
Yeah, and Abby, so I guess my biggest thing is similar to, when I would use like a fitness tracker app, like what's the easiest way to do that? I'm sure a lot of people are thinking the same thing too when they watch this or hear that. Like what's the easiest way to do that so that it doesn't become like a chore?
100%. There are a lot of kind of mindful eating apps out there or kind of feeling apps, like feeling tracking apps that allow you to track those feelings, especially if you are dealing with IBS. That's generally where we started to like get into recommending those types of apps where you're not tracking the calories and you're not worrying about the macros so much, but really just taking note of how kind of foods are making you feel in that day, in that moment, and afterwards. There are apps, but if that isn't, easy for you, pen and paper, just like a quick little note or a little note on your stickies on your phone or something like that. Doesn't need to be forever. I don't expect you to track for the rest of your life, but it just gives you a little bit of data basically about your own unique body because everybody's unique, right? I know like rice doesn't feel good to my body, but my husband could eat rice for days and it's like favorite comfort meal. It really flares my IBS. So it's not my thing. So, but I've just learned that about myself because I've done that work.
You take a couple of weeks
100%.
or like enough?
I would say just like a couple weeks, and then if you are changing your dosage of your Ozempic,
Yep.
I would do another refresher just to see if things are changing.
Okay.
Great.
Okay.
So speaking of things to kind of keep tabs on, let's talk about stress and Ozempic for a second. You and I have been through a mother of many, many months.
We've been through like
Years.
but like just
Yeah.
exacerbated the last 6 months.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
it's been a lot. Okay, so I'm just gonna say it, like, it has been very stressful to kind of get through the pre-launch and the launch of new theory. Very stressful indeed, as you would think for any new entrepreneur starting a business. So the brain and the gut are very, very tightly intertwined thanks to the brain gut axis. And I don't know about you, but I am particularly susceptible. My gut is very sensitive to stress. So there have been days where I feel physically ill. I have no appetite, and I have to basically force myself to eat out of an act of self-care, knowing that my body needs that energy, even if I'm feeling like I'm not getting those cues. And I'm not on Ozempic. So how's the stress affected you and your eating?
Yeah, it hasn't been great. Before Ozempic, I definitely used food as a coping mechanism. So I would probably overeat and resort to like sugar and candy and things that just make me feel good, or carbs. And now that I'm on Ozempic, I am probably the opposite. So it is actually bringing me to a point of feeling ill or trying to eat, and I'm hungry, and then I will get something, and then I won't necessarily enjoy it. I will eat it, or as much as I can, but it's not like, I'll give you a perfect example. It was probably about 5 days. So I went down to New York for a conference, plus visiting the fulfillment center. And then sort of we were troubleshooting day of, because there were issues with the fulfillment center and the shipping costs. Full transparency, we were getting numbers that like one bag of our protein powder was going to cost us $95 to get to Canada, which is like $30 or more than the cost. So it's just, there were things like that were major stressors. And I, this is going to be totally TMI, but I had, liquid diarrhea. I couldn't keep anything in my mouth for about 5 days. And just like the idea of eating food was making me ill, because I knew it was going to come right out. Anywhere that I was going, like I couldn't be like not near a bathroom for like 30 minutes, because just like the thought of something stressful while I was running. So like at one point after my visit to the fulfillment center, I'm like, okay, I have an hour like before the stores close. And I was like, I'm going to treat myself to a shopping trip. Well, I treated myself to running to Bloomingdale's to find a bathroom on the lower level, then the main level. Like it was just out of control. Like it was not a fun time for me. So that's kind of how I'm reacting to stress right now.
Has your doctor given any suggestions on managing these more stressful episodes in time? Hopefully this is not forever. Hopefully we're not living perpetually in this state of nausea. But, is there any thoughts on reducing dosage or anything like that? Or do you just kind of barrel through it?
No, because even before Ozempic, I would still have those IBS triggers, right? So I would still have bouts of diarrhea nonstop. Before Ozempic, I was constant. I have like IBSD. So it is a nonstop journey for me. It's just sort of exacerbated when I'm stressed. And prior to Ozempic, I would have overeaten. So I would have consumed more food. And this time around, it's more making me ill.
Right. Understood.
If that makes sense. So it hasn't really changed my bowel movements or how my body reacts to stress. Like it still manifests physically. It always has, or at least for like the last 15 years, it's been a physical reaction to stress. But my relationship with food has changed.
Well, I mean, the only advice I can give, and I have to give it to myself as best as I can, is in those moments where you do feel a little bit of calm, to take advantage of those times to try to eat something. And if you are experiencing diarrhea, obvious to try to eat something more binding, like rice, which you happen to love. So we love that for you.
I find that's the carb, like a plain carb or rice is usually the only thing that I like that's palatable for me when I'm going through bouts like that. And then sometimes like a couple of doses of Pepto-Bismol will help settle it. I know it's kind of crazy, but like that's sort of how my body reacts and how I can sort of settle the, not necessarily nerves because I'm still nervous, but it's more in my stomach than it is in my head.
Totally. Okay, I want to talk about the Oprah special for a second because she recently came out with a big special promoting GLP-1 agonists like Ozempic. And even though she's gotten a lot of criticism for having basically spent years, almost like gaslighting people into believing that they can just count points and lose weight, she's now shifted her tune to acknowledging obesity as a disease that often needs pharmacological treatment. Whether that paradigm shift was like financially motivated or not, I do think people can evolve and change their mind, so I'm not going to harp on her for that. But how do you feel about obesity being seen as less of a choice and now more of a disease?
Well, I think that's something we've said from the beginning of this series. It is hereditary, and there are things that, you're not going to be able to change about your body. I mean, I applaud the research and people coming out and vocalizing that it is more of a disease that will help destigmatize.
Destigmatize.
Destigmatize obesity, because it's not, it is so much more than just calories in, calories out. It's, if you were like me and you didn't have hunger cues, well, you can eat 1,200 calories every day and never be satisfied or never be hungry, or like in Oprah's case, starve yourself. Like, that's what I did. And I yo-yoed. I would go through bouts of anorexia or bulimia. Like, I would go through all of that, or starving myself. And I never really talked about it because it would never last long enough for me to call it something. And now looking back, it was a disease. All those things were diseases. I suffered from eating disorders.
Right.
And they ranged from, and you can see them on my stomach. You can see like the times where I would gain the weight and I'd have stretch marks, or I would lose really fast because I wouldn't eat, or I would throw it up. And here I am now. Okay, yeah, we're in it is a rapid weight loss situation, but I'm not doing any of those things anymore.
There's a lot of pushback in the health at every size or HAES community for, seeing obesity as a disease because, in some ways it insinuates that your body needs to be fixed or cured. And I understand that perspective, so I am sensitive to that label. It may not feel good to all people who are perhaps trying to practice body acceptance. But on the other side, like you said, I can see that viewing obesity as a disease means understanding that obesity involves complex physiological and genetic factors beyond personal choice. So this approach may in fact help to reduce social stigma and blame. And I think that this paradigm shift, may also put pressure on the healthcare and science community to improve care and also to invest in better research and innovation for improving people's lives at the end of the day. And that obviously also includes reducing stigma and fat phobia. For me, I've never lived in a larger body, so I've never had to experience that label myself. I do feel it's a bit like labeling ADHD or autism as a disability, because on the one hand, some folks in the neurodivergent community may want to just, celebrate who they are to an extent. And I think that's great. And I've talked about that in my own diagnosis. But on the other hand, understanding how this can disadvantage us in some settings specifically really helps us get the accommodations that we need to thrive in this world, right? This is the world that we live in. No one chooses to be autistic or have ADHD, and the world has pretty much come to accept that because we understand neurodivergence as a disability that is somewhat it is completely out of our control, right? We don't choose this. So I do wonder what's going to happen, if and when we see this paradigm shift for obesity.
Yeah, and you know what? Here's the thing. If you're all about HAES and body positivity, I applaud you too. I applaud anyone who can live in their body and love it the way they love it. If you're someone like me and has suffered through the yo-yo dieting, the mental health crisis that came with being overweight, the family stress and culture of, two different sides, one rewarding you with donuts and one saying you can't leave the table until you finish that piece of veal, but also I got to take you to Weight Watchers because you're gaining too much weight. Like, if you have these mental stressors and something that's not making you happy, then why can't we treat it? Why can't we look at it at Ozempic as being a treatment for people who are suffering from those, extenuating circumstances from their weight and their body?
So the last thing I want to talk about here is innovation. So we've just gotten wind of some phase 1 trials of a new monthly weight loss drug called MariTide. So basically this drug works like Ozempic by activating GLP-1 hormone, which is associated with that feeling of fullness, but it also blocks the activity of GIP gut hormone, which is associated with fat storage and metabolism regulation. And the other big difference between Ozempic and MariTide is that it's a monthly injection rather than the Ozempic, which you're taking every single week. So in the phase 1 trial, participants were given different doses of the monthly injection of MariTide, either just once or once every 4 weeks for 3 months. Those who were given a monthly injection of the highest dose of 840 milligrams ended up losing 14.5% of their body weight. And that's basically on par with Ozempic results, by the way. But the more impressive finding is that after 3 doses of the drug and 150 days after the last injection, participants' body weight remained reduced by up to 11.2%. So as you probably know, weight regain coming off of Ozempic is probably one of the biggest concerns, as the researchers found that participants gain an average of 2/3 of their weight back after stopping Ozempic. Now, this in my opinion is potentially going to make these kind of weight loss drugs more accessible and more attractive because you can take fewer shots for more longer term outcome. Like the barrier to entry is going to get lower and lower. How do you think doctors should take a responsible stance against those who potentially may be misusing or abusing drugs like these?
Right. Well, then I also think that there's something to be said about having a certain BMI or certain family history to firstly allow you to get on those drugs, right? I would hate to see somebody who's 120 pounds think that they're still overweight. Like I would hate to see that misuse of a drug like this. That's a tough one because how do you then monitor it if you're going to say access to all?
And I don't think that we will get to a point where it's like an over-the-counter drug. I think, of course, doctors are going to have to be responsible in how they're prescribing it. No different than prescribing a stimulant for ADHD or an antibiotic. There's always a risk-benefit analysis that has to be done, and practitioners are going to have to use their critical thinking skills and their experience to do that. So for me, I'm all about innovation and making healthcare better and more effective for folks who need it. But there's concerns, of course, about the potential harm on a population scale. And I said this back when Ozempic launched as well, right? Like, great for the individual who has that food noise, for whom those general lifestyle interventions have failed them, right? Like people like you, Ginger. But when everyone can sign up to suddenly lose 10 pounds, it may further stigmatize those who do not, and maybe who don't because of financial reasons or access reasons or, etc. The divide may become more extreme, and that is definitely a concern. And that's really where we're going to have to put the pressure on creating very specific guidelines on who qualifies for medication like this.
Yeah, that's a really tricky one because I don't know the right answer. I'm blessed to be able to be on this drug because I think it has changed my life and my relationship with food. And, watching the Oprah special, I wanted to leap into the TV and hug these folks who were telling their stories because I'm like, that was me. And I'm so grateful to not have to live through that anymore. I do agree this could further stigmatize people who don't have access to it. And how do we make it fair and equitable for all? That's a tough one. I don't know. And I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is an ongoing discussion and ongoing conversation that's going to have to be going on in the healthcare and science community. But as always, Ginger, thank you so much for joining us and being vulnerable and helping me lead this conversation sensitively. You're always such an asset, and I know people really do appreciate you sharing your journey. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks, everyone.
And I would love if you could give Ginger some words of encouragement and support in the comments, and a big thumbs up for sharing her story. You can also make us both smile by checking out the link in the description for our big baby new theory. And on that note, I will see you next time on Abby's Kitchen. Bye!